Perry is here. Phil Perry never stops working. Phil.
That's right.
You were on TV. Was that live last night when you were on television?
It was. Were you watching?
What time was that? I watched.
Good for you. That was a late one.
I watched, and it was a late one, and I'm glad I did. Because the thing I heard Chris Gasper say on that very program with you and Bert was he heard Eliot Wolf was here to stay, and Eliot Wolf is still the guy, and Eliot is kind of being positioned as the guy who's still going to do that job, and Mike Vrabel is going to get along with him. And Mike Vrabel backed that up today with what he was saying in that press conference and what he said with us just a couple of minutes ago.
It's the most mentioned name that I can remember at a press conference in some time.
Unprompted, right? I mean,
totally unscripted.
He was asked about the front office a couple of different times. I asked him about it. I asked him about Ryan Cowden, and he did leave the door open for some level of transition. He tiptoed around that question about Cowden and about how he might bring in people that he has a relationship with, and maybe there will be some other additions that he doesn't, and this, that, and the other. But to bring up Eliot Wolf as many times as he did suggests that he's going to have a real key, important front office role for the foreseeable future. Now, my question is, and if we had the opportunity to ask more than one, and maybe this is for another time, is, what's it look like? Okay, maybe Eliot Wolf is the guy, as Chris was discussing with us last night, for the next 5 months through the draft. And then there is somebody who is brought aboard that is going to have Vrabel's ear in a little bit different way. These arranged marriages in the NFL tend to not work. There are examples in the past, I guess. Bert was talking about some of them last night where, maybe it's worked out. But generally speaking, not a good idea. But based on what Vrabel said today, it sounds like they've established some sort of quick rapport and that he's going to lean on Eliot Wolf when it comes to the front office stuff. At least that was the message that was trying to be sent today.
I will say this. There's good reason to do it if they're putting it on, so to speak. And that is they don't want to have to deal with anything with violating league rules.
No question.
Right?
There's only so much you can say.
That you can't violate the league rules on this. And in addition to that, the Patriots are probably being very careful right now, given that they're facing scrutiny for their quick coaching search. People are calling it a sham search. They're saying they didn't go through the process.
Right.
They didn't spend enough time at looking at legitimate minority candidates, right? Those are all criticisms they are facing right now, that they tried to skirt those rules, doing it the way that they did it. So what they don't need right now is suggesting that anyone other than Eliot Wolf is the man in charge of their front office, because that's the guy they arrived on in their search last year, and that's the guy who is labeled and named and filed as the executive with the league. If you change that and you have someone else calling the shots, you need to conduct a full search.
That's right.
So this...
Even if it's Vrabel, by the way.
Right. Even if it's Mike Vrabel who they decide will have that power, they still have to conduct a full search to land on that. They don't want to be dealing with anything that could be viewed as a league violation right now.
Let's see how this plays out.
That might just be really important to do this.
Just talking to people, though, around the league, and I read a couple of text messages that I got yesterday when Charles Robinson from Yahoo reported that Eliot Wolf's going to be sticking on, but Ryan Cowden's going to be joining Mike Vrabel eventually, and that's the expectation. People looking at that and saying, so Eliot's going to stay? That should work out. As sarcastically as you can in a text message. I got another one that said, essentially they should have blown it up. They should have blown it up and just started fresh, especially when you have a personality as strong as Vrabel's, because he's going to make his opinions known. He's going to let the front office know, whoever's in there, what he wants and doesn't want. And if you have this arranged marriage and it's set up in such a way where the person who does actually technically have final say on the roster sees the game a little bit differently than you do, there's going to be a butting of heads. And so that's what you want to try to avoid. The Kraft should know that. And maybe that's why there will be change down the line. But as things stand right now, Eliot Wolf, who was in there today, along with Matt Groh and many others in the Patriots front office and on the coaching staff, as of today, he still looks like a really important piece of the puzzle here.
The part that I liked the most out of the press conference when he was asked about, and even when he sat here with us, talking about putting your staff together. We'll take our time on this. We're going to go through the process. We're going to interview people. Tells me he might have his eyes on some of the people still playing in these games, which means you can't hire them yet. You can't talk to them yet. So I think that's a good thing that he's not rushing into it. He's presented you with, hey, here's the staff that I want.
Well, again,
here's my staff potentially want. He may have 3 of them, which I think that's the case.
Again, and this is what makes those questions, and I asked one of them, but in a way a little useless today, is that those coordinator spots, you have to fulfill the Rooney Rule as well.
Yep.
So he can't go up at the podium today and say, "Yeah, I've got a couple guys in
He knows
mind."
what he's doing.
Yeah, I've got one guy in particular I'm really thinking hard about.
Right.
Like, you just can't. You've got to try to satisfy the process and do it in an appropriate way in the league's eyes. And so, he's a smart guy. He wasn't going to let anything be known in that sort of setting.
Do you think it's McDaniels?
I can tell you that's what people in the league think. People in the league think McDaniels is a shoo-in for the job. People that I've spoken to, people at the coordinator level, people that have interviewed for head coaching jobs this year. And so that's what people think. But that to me, the people that I've spoken to, it's really more dot connecting than it is true information. And, whether it's Tommy Rees or Josh McDaniels, my guess is it would be one of those. Tommy Rees, and we spoke about this a little bit last night. I actually like what he brings to the table in that he would be able to bring that language from Cleveland that Alex Van Pelt had here last year with Drake May and just allow him to hit the ground running. And maybe he would be able to sprinkle in some of the college stuff in a way that would be different than McDaniels. McDaniels, I think, would bring a little different system. Now, he's a really smart guy. Maybe he could just adopt all the language that they had last year, potentially, I guess. And he's a proven quarterback developer and obviously a proven coordinator. And so both hires to me are somewhat attractive, whichever one comes to pass. But the Reese one is interesting because it would bring you a little bit something new, and I think he would be able to work with the young quarterback and be able to mesh what the quarterback had in college to what he had last year with Van Pelt.
Am I crazy for suggesting Alex Van Pelt should get an interview?
Ha!
Not get hired. I'm not
minute.
saying he should be hired.
I don't even know who you are.
If you're Mike, no, listen.
Yeah, I know.
If you're Mike
Get off the
Vrabel,
fence.
don't you want to talk to that guy? Don't you want to sit down and talk about what went well, what didn't go well, and at least hear the guy make his case?
Sure.
Right. Where's the harm in that?
There's no harm in it. He's under contract, right? So, I'm sure ownership would be okay. I mean, to a degree. I don't know if they loved everything that happened on the field this year when it came to the offense.
certainly
Yeah.
no.
So,
By the way, Jonathan was at the press conference today. If anybody was wondering,
He was.
He was there and was, right up front.
Yeah, it was a long list of Patriots employees there today. But
Sure was.
yeah, sure. Go ahead and interview him and try to figure out maybe how Drake May ticks. Talk to the guy who was in his ear most of anybody last year. But I wouldn't expect that he's going to be back on the staff.
No, I wouldn't expect it either. I'm just saying, at the very least, give him the interview. Give him the interview, pick his brain, find out what worked well, find out things about Drake May, let him air his grievances about some of the players on that side of the ball that are not cut out to be players for Mike Vrabel. All of those things. Get it all. You got nothing to lose.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with you. I want to ask you guys something that I find interesting, because this has been the talk around Vrabel for a while now. Is this, he's not Bill. And clearly he's not, right? The personalities are very different.
Not.
But the one snippet of the interview that you guys just did with him that I heard was about Bill Belichick and how differently you do things. And it felt like he acknowledged that, there are actually some ways that I hope my team is like his.
Buttoned up.
Well, I also would say, how many things did we hear in that press conference that are word for word from Bill's lips?
Yeah.
Put the team first. It doesn't matter how we got here. Yep. The only thing that matters is what you do when you are here. To me, the whole line of we want to take advantage of bad football is just another way of saying you have to first learn how not to lose before you can win, right? He has been significantly impacted by Bill. So while their personalities are very different, how they go about things is going to be similar. Not the same, but similar. How the team meetings are run. Taylor Lewan, I thought, had an entertaining 2-minute video on X where he's talking to players that are about to be coached by Mike Vrabel. He says, those, what holes are going to be tight, boys, because in those meetings, he's going to call on you. He's going to need to know who everybody is on the other team, special teams guys, where they went to call. That's Bill. That's how Bill coached. Bill kept people on edge. Bill wasn't looking to make friends, but he was looking to get the most out of his players. And so I think there's been too much pushback to, he's not Bill. He ain't Bill. This isn't how Bill used to do things. There are going to be a lot of things that we hear from Mike Vrabel that are very similar to the guy that he played for 8 years, as you would expect and as it should be. I just find it interesting because the team here couldn't wait to get rid of Bill Belichick 12 months ago. And here we are, and we're getting a version of him, like it or not, and Mike Vrabel.
You're getting the younger version of Bill Belichick, though. You're getting a better balance between the guy who connects and the guy who coaches and the guy who manages an entire program.
No
right?
question.
You're
No question. He'll be able to relate to players in a way that Bill, I won't say never did, but was reluctant to. Let's put it that way.
Sure. Sure. So I do think there's a better balance there. But no, the good qualities. And by the way, Bill, I don't think got fired because he was a bad coach.
No.
Bill got fired because the program went downhill and the drafting went downhill and the roster was not good. And he was in charge of that. And so that's what you get in the, as I've been calling it, the coach-centric model that they had under Bill. And I think they're getting back to with Mike Vrabel.
Remove entitlement from the program.
Oh, that was my favorite thing he said.
That was a good one. Wow.
That was awesome.
For him to be able to sense that from afar. Whose quotes do you think he was reading to say that?
Tavai.
Little Tavai, maybe?
Tavai, gotcha.
Let's throw the whole wide
Keyshawn
receiver
Booty,
room
maybe.
in there.
There's part of me that really kind of hopes he comes in and guts the roster. There's part of me that hopes that there is a bunch of changeover and a lot. And we already knew, just on numbers, there would be a lot of new blood in here this coming year, regardless of who the coach was going to be.
Bob and I alone went down that game day roster, and we came up with 37 guys that probably shouldn't be back.
So if it was 37 without knowing who the new head coach was, let's just call it an even 40 now with Mike Vrabel. There are going to be 40 new guys in here on this roster next year.
I mean, think about it. There's probably 5 offensive linemen. There's 3 receivers. That's 8 right there, like that.
And it's not personal.
Yeah, I think there are going to be corners of that room that he's not all that excited to work with moving forward.
You just got to get the stink of losing out of there, is what you got to do. Break it up. You just got to break up the group. You guys lost a lot of games together. Sometimes those teams just got to get blown up.
Impressive guy. No notes, for him to be able to clearly articulate his philosophy, what he wants his culture to be, what he's going to expect of his players, how he's going to go about it, sort of tiptoeing around, but how he's going to go about, filling out the staff and the kinds of people that he's interested in. As expected, I would say. We know a lot about the personality and how he addresses the media, but that was a pretty impressive showing by him today.
It's exciting.
Thanks, Phil.
It is. Isn't it exciting? It feels nice to be excited about something.
It feels like football's back, if it even makes sense. But it's weird.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be different. And I'm excited. Honestly, I'm excited for the press conferences. For me, it's selfishly.
I said
it's going to be a good time.
Part of the Brewski thing isn't necessarily even the on-field. It's how you deal with players during practice, how he's going to deal with the media, how he's going to deal with the week. You're going to have a back and forth with him.
Yeah. That's why, felt good about just asking him outright about Ryan Cowden. Yeah. Hey, is he coming? Yeah, we'll figure that out. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, but that'll be fun.
And he kept a mental note. Phil Perry.
Yeah.
Good to know.
He's going to be the Gentry.
All right, Phil. Well, thanks
Phil.
For being here.
Appreciate it.
All right, thanks for having me, guys.
All right, Phil Perry, NBC Sports Boston.
Hey, if you like that clip, check out more videos from Zolak and Bertrand right here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.